Hi, welcome to Texas History 2301, Section 003. My name is Alfonso R. Lopez, and I will be your instructor for this class this semester. Now, what we're going to be doing in this class introduction video presentation is introducing you to the class, getting the students acquainted with the instructor, but also to guide the students to all of the components of this course, which is really stated on the syllabus. So what we're going to be doing today is really just going over the syllabus and explaining section by section what this course is going to be about, what are the major requirements for this class in terms of textbooks, for example, your weekly responsibilities, due dates, the textbook that you're going to require. We're going to be also discussing that, the mode of instruction, how you're going to be learning the material for this class this semester, how you can actually prepare for the exams, what kind of exams are going to be like, what's going to be the format of the exams, how you can prepare and excel in those exams as well. We're going to be talking also about the major assignment that is due at the end of the semester, April 27th. We're going to be talking about that. And extra credit assignments as well. I also will be talking about how I grade and pretty much providing tips for you to actually learn how to actually prepare for the exams and do very well, not only pass the exams, but also excel in this class. Okay, so this is a very, very important video presentation. I highly recommend that you watch this video presentation as thoroughly as possible. Perhaps even take notes, if you will, because again, this is very helpful when you are, for example, in the middle of the semester, pretty much lost about, okay, so, how can I prepare for the exam, or, what to expect, what kind of answers, for example, do I need to provide in the exam in order to ace it, and all of that. Everything is pretty much stated here, things to avoid as well, So I highly recommend that you go over this material, this video presentation, and use it for a future reference. This is going to pretty much orient you to understand, how this course is going to be delivered, how this is going to be structured, and so you can identify the main elements of this course on Blackboard, where the major links, etc., all of that, so you don't feel lost, in other words. Okay? All right. Now, having said that, now let us now share the screen and turn our attention out to the Blackboard page, because it is through Blackboard that this course is going to be delivered. So this is the main Blackboard page. When you open up the page, this is what you're going to see. I sent an announcement last week on Friday indicating that I was going to upload a class introduction video today, on Tuesday. So I will be sending an email notification, saying, look, the video is ready, this is where you have to go. As a matter of fact, let me just create it right away. It's going to be titled Class Introduction. Okay. And I will place this link where you find the video on the very, very top, again, of this blue column on the left. This is the main column full of links, and those links take you to very important sections of the course. So it is here under Class Introduction that I will be posting that video presentation. You click on it, you're going to see again the video there. Now, as I said, this video presentation is going to go over the syllabus. This is a very, very important document that is providing everything that you need to know, the student, about the class. Okay, but I'm here to actually explain it section by section again, so you'll understand how I have structured this course for you. Okay, so just beneath the class introduction link, you will find a link titled syllabus. You click on it, and what you'll see is the entire syllabus posted there. Not just the file, but rather what I have done is I copy pasted the entire syllabus and created a module page for the syllabus. Again, so this is for you to just have it handy, very easy access to the syllabus for you to read. And once again, this is a very, very important document that informs you of everything that you need to know about the course. All right, so let's start from the top. Again, this is History 2301, Section 003, Texas History. My name is Alfonso R. Lopez. I will be your instructor for this class this semester. And the fastest and easiest way to reach me is through email. My email is listed there, is alfonso.lopez@austincc.edu. I'm checking my email several times a day, so more than likely when it's from Monday through Friday, you'll be receiving a response within a 24-hour period. Okay? So 24-hour period. Sometimes the same day. Again, sometimes students send me an email really early in the morning, let us just say around 9 o'clock or something. You might receive a response in the same day, by the way. It is only during the weekends that I might take 48 hours to respond. Again, so if you send me, let's say, an email Saturday morning, I will be responding on Monday morning, to you. This has to do with me stepping out of town in many cases, other duties and responsibilities I have. Again, I might not have access to email and so on. So during the weekends, again, it's not guaranteed that I will be responding, but rather early Monday morning. Okay. All right. So this is an online course that is going to be delivered asynchronously. So it is, again, an asynchronous instruction, which means that there's not going to be any designated class meetings, as I will explain in just a few moments. Now, before I move into the textbook and all the other sections of the syllabus, I want to remind you here that according to ACC policy, all communication between students and faculty has to take place within the ACC electronic resources, which means that if you're going to send me an email regarding the class, about anything regarding the class, please use your Austin ACC electronic resource, in this case your email account from ACC. I'm not supposed to respond to emails that are private, so if you send me an email that is private, I will not respond to that private email, because again, this is ACC policy. So if you want a quick answer or response from me regarding grading the class, the lectures, etc., anything, please use your ACC electronic resources. Okay. All right. So the textbook, again, this is one of the main requirements for this class. Now, we're not going to use a standard textbook for this class, although there's one required, which is this one right here, by Keith Bolanto. It's titled Texas Voices, and it's the 5th edition, by the way, is the 5th edition. This book is not a standard textbook. This doesn't contain a narrative of historical events. This is not a book that you read from cover to cover and it tells you the history of Texas, for example. Rather, this is a book that is a collection of documents or primary sources. What is a primary source? Well, it is really a document produced by a historical actor that was integral to the making of Texas history. Somebody important in the past, that actually, made possible the formation of Texas, in other words. Okay? So it can be a memoir, a letter, a statement, a speech, etc. Generated by those actors. And the reason why you're going to use this textbook is to complete an assignment that is due at the end of the semester, April 27th. Okay, so there's an assignment due on April 27th in which you're going to use this book. This is why you're going to use this book. Now, to answer the question, well, why is it that we're not going to be using a standard textbook? Well, we're not going to be using it because the method of instruction for this class is going to be based on lectures. I have recorded all of my lectures using particularly, again, this particular software that I'm using to record this introduction is the same. So I have used this software to record all of my lectures, and my lectures do not come from a single text. Okay, so I do not use a book per se to say, okay, look, I've gathered this book, and what I've done is that I've read, each one of those chapters, and I'm here just reciting the chapter back to you. Okay, so that's not what I do with any of my classes that I teach. I teach different classes at HCC, and I've done that in previous colleges and universities. So my lectures come from a multiplicity of different sources, books I've read across many, many years. Ever since I started college in the history discipline, I read a multiplicity of books, not only regarding history, but also economics, culture, politics, religion, science, and the like. So there's a wide array of different fields, different subject matters, and what I've done is that I assembled lectures based on information from those sources, articles I've read, and so on. And so I have actually produced a series of lectures based on those sources that do not actually come in a single package. In other words, there's not going to be a textbook that I can give you that is going to serve as a guide to the lecture. In other words, because again, my lectures do not come from a single source. That is the reason why I don't use one single text again for the course. I'll talk more about, of course, the study questions report, the assignment that is due at the end of the semester, in which you're going to use this book. I will talk about that just shortly. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is an online asynchronous course. Will be delivered fully online, meaning that asynchronous means that there will be no designated class meetings for real-time instruction. So we're not going to be meeting, in other words, online on designated days. And the advantage of this kind of format, the asynchronous format, is that students can actually tailor their own schedules and review this material in their own time, because we understand that students have many responsibilities, work responsibilities, family, and so on. And so it is very difficult to synchronize your time with class time when it's designated. So in this case, you can actually set aside some time in different times of the day to actually review this material again in your own schedule. That is the great advantage of the asynchronous format. Okay. Of course, there are due dates. This is again a class in which there are particular due dates when you have to upload the exams, when you have to upload the assignment due at the end of the semester, and so on. Of course, yeah, that's true. But when you're going to be reviewing the lectures, at what time and everything is really, again, all based on your own schedule. All right, so the course description. So this is a Texas history course, and we're going to really cover Texas history from the time of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, going back to prehistoric times. We're looking way back into the ancient world. Thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, when we see the origins of the Native Americans, for example, moving into the American continent and how they created different civilizations. We're going to look at the major civilizations particularly those that had a direct impact in the indigenous peoples of Texas, because as we'll see, there will be peoples that settled very early on, of course, in Texas, Native Americans, of course, but there were others that migrated from the major civilizations. For example, from central Mexico, there were some of them that migrated into parts of West Texas. Others migrated from the great civilizations of the Mississippians, of course, in North America. The Mississippian civilization was a major civilization. We're going to look at that. And we're going to see the different groupings, of Texas, the kind of cultures and societies that developed, prior to the arrival of the Europeans. We're going to look at that history, and we're also going to look at the European world, because Texas was not only formed by a single group of people, but a multiplicity of different groups. Some of those groups were, of course, the indigenous peoples of Texas, the indigenous peoples of the Americas, if you will, that created their own distinct religions, cultures, and societies here in this part of North America that today we just simply call Texas. Other groups that also contributed to the formation of Texas were the Europeans, starting with the Spanish. So we are also going to look at the Spanish background. We're going to look at Spain. We're going to take a look at Spanish history very briefly, where the Spaniards were coming from, what kind of world were they coming from, the kind of religion they, formulated. Christianity, for example, the Catholic Church, what kind of social organization they created back in Spain as well, which they introduced into Texas. Because in many cases, what the Spaniards are going to do after they arrived into the American continent is transplant many of their institutions from Spain into the New World. Okay? They're going to bring Christianity. They're going to bring their towns exactly as they had them back in Spain. They're going to bring their cattle ranches exactly as they were back in Spain, and so on. So they're going to recreate Spain in many cases, here in the New World. And this is something that we're going to get to see. And of course, they're going to have interactions with the Native Americans in terms of trying to convert them to Christianity. We're going to get to see as well that interaction between the Spanish world and the Native American world. This course is also going to look at, the Mexican background, okay? Because Texas was also formed during a period of time, not only by the influence of the Native Americans or the Spanish, but also of Mexico. Because at some point, the Spanish colonies declared independence from Spain, and they created their own independent countries or nations. One of those nations was Mexico. And initially, Mexico included the province of Texas. Texas was part of Mexico, of course. And so the Mexican period is also going to be assessed here. What is going to be the influence of Mexico into Texas? The kind of laws or institutions that Mexico developed from 1821 to 1836 is a very brief period, by the way, is going to have an impact, of course, on Texas. We're going to get to see that. We're also going to look at, of course, the independence revolution. In 1836, we're going to see Texas declaring independence from Mexico. We're going to get to see the reasons behind it, what was really motivating the residents of this province, the province of Texas, to move forward and declare independence from Mexico in 1836. And of course, there's going to be a struggle, a revolutionary process or war that's called the Texas Revolution, and which was finally successful again in 1836. Texas gained independence from Mexico in 1836 and created its own independent state or republic. It becomes a nation. For a 9 to 10 year period, give and take. Texas was an independent republic from 1836 to 1836 to 1845. We're gonna get to see how Texas formed its own government, what kind of government and institutions it created, what kind of economy, what was the Texas economy during this period of independent nationhood, and the different social classes and the different social groups. There were, of course, Mexican residents that were now part of Texas, of course. They were, of course, Anglo-Americans as well. There were African slaves. There were also the Native American population. We're going to get to see, each one of those social and ethnic groups and how they lived and how they interacted with one another. We're also going to look at the annexation of Texas into the United States. There's going to be a motion for annexing Texas into the United States almost since the very beginning of Texas independence, by the way. In 1836, there was, a desire for some people in Texas to join the American Union. We're going to get to see that. And we're going to get to examine the process of not only annexation, but the process of Texas adjusting to now being a new state in the American Union. It's called statehood. They joined the American Union, and we're going to get to see the state of Texas now, for the 1840s and 1850s. Eventually, of course, we're going to get to see the Civil War, starting in 1860, 1861 in the United States, in which Texas decided to join the Confederacy, the Southern Confederacy, and secede from the American Union, leave the American Union, which precipitated, of course, the war itself, the Civil War, the war between the North and the South, something we're going to get to see very, very thoroughly, the participation of Texas in the Southern Confederacy, what were some of the problems that Texas faced during the war, and eventually what factors led to the final defeat, not only of the Confederacy, but also of the Texas Confederates as well. We're going to get to see that. Of course, that includes looking at the process of Reconstruction, the process by which Texas is undergoing significant change and reform in their state constitutions, liberating, of course, the slaves that it once had, and trying to provide some basic liberties to the freed population. We're going to get to see that, of course, in great detail. Finally, the last portion of this course is going to look at Texas entering the modern age, the age of modernity. After the Civil War, what happens is that now Texas was ready to start industrializing. In other words, we're going to see the very first industrial revolution happening in Texas, the development of different industries and enterprises. Some of them had to do with, for example, mining, others with agriculture, others with energy, things like coal and oil, for example, lumber, and the like. All of that we're going to get to see very thoroughly, and also the formation of large industrial cities, how the peoples of Texas were now moving very rapidly from the countryside to the large urban areas, the industrial cities, in search for work. Again, this is a process that we're going to analyze in great depth, this transformation, this social and cultural transformation of the peoples of Texas as they're modernizing. They're modernizing their economy because there's, of course, new industries. They're building railroads and large international ports, and they're also moving to the cities as well. Okay, we're also going to get to see, of course, some of the reform movements in Texas that were caused particularly by the changes that I just described, Uh, the peoples of Texas believe that many traditions were being abandoned, that as people moved to the cities, that they were leaving behind their agricultural communities, their farms, and their families behind. And there's going to be a very intense effort to reform, of course, Texas and make people return back to those traditional ways. Okay, we're gonna get to see that also in great depth. What were some of the attempts by the peoples of Texas to deal with some of those problems? The loss of social values and traditions, the culture, and the like. There are other reforms that attempted to address the problem of industrial workers. There were many people that lived in cities now, and they were working in industries, and there were many problems in industries. And of course, we're going to see workers organizing and forming unions and trying to push for better working conditions and the like. Also, farmers were organizing and trying to address the problems, again, in the countryside. The abandonment of the countryside was one of the problems, but also, again, the loss of land. Farmers were losing land, they were losing resources, and we're going to see also the rise of a farmers' movement. This is something we're going to get to see as well. In the 20th century, we're also going to pay attention to the Great Depression, something that affected Texas very much directly. It affected people on so many levels, particularly people that lived in cities. There was high unemployment. Industrial workers were laid off, of course, and the countryside was also in shambles. Agricultural production dropped. So we're going to get to see how during the 1930s, the New Deal, how Texas attempted to get out of the Depression, addressing the problem of workers and also of farmers and people in general. Finally, the last portion of the semester will be devoted to analyzing Texas in the age of globalization, the participation of Texas in global events such as World War I, for example, World War II. We're going to see the development, of course, of a defense industry in Texas, and Texas participating, of course, in those international conflicts as well. The generation of an oil industry that is going to be significant, of course, in the world economy, and the immigration, of course, of numerous peoples coming from different parts of the world, again, into the state of Texas, changing really the makeup, the demographics of Texas, something we're going to get to see again in this very last topic on globalization. Okay? Now, again, this is the course description that pretty much outlines, explains all of the material, if you will, that we're going to be covering across the semester. Now, what is going to be the mode of learning? How are you going to be learning this material that I just explained? Okay, so the mode of learning is that I have recorded all of my lectures using this software that I'm using right here. Every lecture is identical to the classes I teach in class, face-to-face. They run for about an hour and 20 minutes, give and take. Might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more, but they're about an hour and 20 minutes average each lecture. So I recorded all of my lectures, and they are now assembled on Blackboard. I will show you in just a few moments where they're located. Your responsibility is to be watching 2 videos per week. I will be sending you an email announcement telling you, indicating which particular videos you need to be watching on a weekly basis to keep a certain rhythm and pace, again, because every 5 weeks we're going to have an exam, and we're going to be covering certain themes or certain topics, again, in those 5 weeks, and then we're going to have an exam over that material. So I want you to be watching those videos on a weekly basis, again, in that order, so you'll know where we are and you're keeping up with the responsibilities and the work. Your responsibility in this case is watch the videos on a weekly basis, take notes as thoroughly as possible, because all of the exams are going to be based on those recorded video lectures. Okay. Now, the video lectures are not organized randomly. I just don't, in other words, provide a lecture. Let's say I start on Native Americans, but the next video I start talking about the Texas independence. And then the third video I go back and start talking about the Spanish. And then I jump back and forth, back and forth. It's not like that. The way I actually organize my lectures is around topics or themes. There's a thematic organization to the historical material of the class. Okay? And there are nine historical topics for this course, and they're organized into three main historical eras. The first era, it tells you, is the indigenous Spanish and Mexican backgrounds. Okay? This is the very first era, and there's three topics for that era. The indigenous peoples of the Americas and Texas, the first topic. The second one is the Spanish colonization of Texas. And the third topic is Texas and the Mexican nation. Each topic contains 3 videos. So the indigenous peoples of the Americas and Texas has 3 videos. Okay, 3. You watch those videos, you take notes as thoroughly as possible, and then you get into the second topic, the Spanish colonization of Texas. There's 3 videos on that, and so on and so forth. So this is very important, again, that this is a thematic structure in which once you open up the folder to watch the videos on one of those themes, that's all you're going to learn about. When I, for example, lecture on the indigenous peoples of Texas, that's all I talk about for 3 videos. And each video runs for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Okay, you learn everything about the indigenous peoples of Texas. Okay. The same with the second topic, the Spanish colonization of Texas. That's all I talk about. Again, it's thematic, in other words. Okay, so every time we cover 3 topics, we have 1 exam over that material. Then the second historical era, the independence, nationhood, and the civil wars, we cover 3 more topics. At the end of the third topic, which is the 6th, we have the second exam. Then we move into the third historical era, modernization, reforms, and globalization. We cover the last 3 topics, 7, 8, and 9. And then we have the final exam, and the final exam is only going to cover the last 3 topics. It's not going to be comprehensive. It's going to only cover the last 3 exams. Okay. Now, to show you where are those located. So where can I find those videos? Okay, it says course content right here. There's a section again on this menu column. It says course content. There's a link titled instructional materials. You click on it. You're going to see 2 folders. The very first folder is titled recorded video lectures. You click on this folder and you're going to see 9 folders. Why 9 folders? Because those are the 9 topics that we're going to be covering in sequence, numerical sequence. So you click, let's say, on the very first topic. This is something you're going to start with, this week actually. And you're going to see 3 videos. Session 1, Session 2, Session 3. Once again, they run, roughly speaking, for 1 hour and 20 minutes, give and take, each video. Okay? Your responsibility is to be watching 2 per week. I will be sending you the emails notifications twice a week. It can be Monday, Wednesday, it can be Tuesday, Thursday. It doesn't matter. But twice a week, you'll receive an email from me saying, let's say, for example, tomorrow, Wednesday, you will be receiving an email from me saying, okay, so today, Wednesday, please watch session 1 of the first topic of the semester. Here's the link. Okay, it's a reminder. Your responsibility is to take notes as thoroughly as possible and use that material to answer the questions and the key terms of the exams when the exam comes along. Okay, that's your responsibility. You, of course, can tailor your own schedule when to be watching those videos, but I highly recommend that you discipline yourself to watch 2 videos per week. You can, once again, tailor your own schedule. Don't procrastinate and leave those videos for the next week, because then the next week you're going to have to watch 4 videos instead of 2. Imagine if you do this week after week, and then by the 4th week you're trying to watch all the videos since the beginning. It's going to be too much, in other words. So really, to keep a healthy rhythm and pace, I highly recommend just watching 2 videos per week. Okay? All right, let us go back to the syllabus. All right, so I mentioned 3 exams. There will be 3 exams for this course, each worth 25% of the final grade. Okay? The format. What is going to be the format? Okay, well, the format of these exams is that there's going to be 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Okay? Part 1, if we can just, for example, use an example, go back, for example, here to the first exam, and just show you the instructions. Part 1, the topic section, is asking you to choose one topic from a set of 2. It can be the indigenous peoples of Texas or the Spanish colonization of Texas. And answer all of the questions presented for that topic as fully as possible. Okay? So, for 60 points. Okay? 60. So this is not really English composition. This is not like this superstructure where you have to have like this topic paragraph and anything like that. Arguments and conclusion. It's not like that. All you need to do is say, okay, look, I'm going to do the indigenous peoples of Texas, let's say. Okay, there's 4 questions, and your responsibility is to answer those questions. Type the question and then the answer below, one by one, one by one, one by one, each one of them, as fully as possible. It requires that the answers for just part 1 will be 5 pages in length, double spaced. Okay, you can run up to as many as you want. That's fine. There will be no penalties, but no less than 5 full pages if you want to pass this exam, of course. So again, this is very simple. Watch the videos, of course, and use that information to answer those 4 questions for 60 points. You're moving to part 2, the key terms, and you're supposed to watch from another topic, Texas in the Mexican nation, the Mexican background. And you have to answer very fully and very thoroughly 2 key terms. Not just identify the key term. You have to explain it, elaborate, and explain as fully as possible, okay, the key term. Select 2 from a set of 3. There's a lot of information for each one of those key terms, of course. Okay, for example, when I talk about the independence of Spain, the first key term, it's really lengthy. It runs for an entire video, an hour and 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm expecting a very lengthy answer. How to excel in those exams? Well, number 1, provide very lengthy, very elaborate, very detailed answers for both part 1 and part 2. Okay? Don't pretend that you're writing to somebody that knows what you're talking about. No, pretend that you're writing to somebody that has no clue about Texas history at all. So the more you explain, the more you elaborate, the more examples you provide, the higher your points. Okay, this is key. This is again one of the tips that I tell students. Look, just try to go the extra mile. Don't assume that I know what you're talking about. You have to describe, what you're writing about, whether it's the religion of the Native Americans, etc. You have to be descriptive. Tell me what they believed in, what kind of gods or spirits they prayed to, their rituals. Try to elaborate. Teach, in other words, teach the audience. You're the teacher now, so you have to teach the audience, about the subject matter. And so the more you explain, the more they're going to learn. So that's really the key here. Okay. Another tip is, and this is really a must, again, is that in the instructions, I'm very, very firm, with this, is that this work must contain the exams, all of them, only lecture material. So when you're writing the answers, refrain from using any other outside source. Okay? It's only the material that I have presented in the videos that is allowed. Because it's almost like saying, well, yeah, I'm taking this class, but I haven't watched any of those videos. All I did is, really, I just went online and I read a few pages here and there. I did a little bit of research and I pretty much gathered this information and threw it there. I didn't really bother to learn anything he said. Okay, it's almost like not going to class. Like if you're taking a face-to-face class but never really going to a single class and just trying to use any other information outside of class, trying to pass the class. It's not going to work. Okay, so for me, one of the elements that I take into account when grading the exams is commitment, discipline, in terms of actually having watched this material. I provide not only data and facts, but analysis. I analyze things. I'm telling you, for example, I'm explaining, for example, what was really the contribution of the Spanish culture and society in the formation of Texas. And I provide a really long, detailed analysis of that. It's not just this is what they did in this year and so on and so forth. It's more about the why, why this happened, why is it that the Spaniards actually came to Texas and why they formed this kind of society and so on. So it's more analytical. So I'm expecting that kind of analysis again in the exam. So again, if you use outside sources, as soon as I start reading in the answers outside sources, your work will be disqualified. I'm very, very firm in this again. So please refrain from using outside sources. Okay? All right, going back to the syllabus. The exams, when they're ready, they're going to be uploaded here on Blackboard. They're not timed. It's not like you have to take the exam on a specific day and time and then upload it, but rather you have all this time to do it. Of course, there's a due date. The due date, for example, of the first exam, it tells you is February the 23rd. This is when you upload the first exam on Blackboard. The second, you upload it on April 4th. The second exam is due April 4th. And the final exam is due May 11th. Okay? So there is, of course, a certain due date, but you have all this time to do it. This is like a home assignment. This is a take-home assignment. You do it on your own time. You type it on your computer. You set the margins the way they're supposed to be. Double space, cover page, everything. Save it on a Word file or PDF and then upload it on Blackboard by the due date. Again, that's the exam. So again, it's more like a paper or a take-home assignment in which all of your data, all of the resources or sources come from the lecture material, exclusively, again, from the lecture material. Okay? They're 25% each. All right, so there are going to be, of course, opportunity for extra credits. There are 3 extra credit assignments. They're due April 27th. Where can you find the extra credit assignments? Once again, here under course content, there's a link titled Course Assignments. Click on it. All the course assignments for this course are stated here. First exam, second, final. The course assignment called the study questions report, the instructions are there, and also the extra credits assignments. There's a folder titled Extra Credit Assignments. You click on it. There are 3 extra credit assignments, each for each exam. It involves reading an article and answering questions on the ideas or the content of the article. Each extra credit assignment can provide up to 10 points for each exam. So let's say the first exam you made, for some reason, a 78. Hopefully not. Yeah. If you do an extra credit assignment, you can increase that 78 up to an 88. You can turn it into a B+, in other words. So it's a great opportunity to improve your grades and perhaps even to ace this class if you're struggling, for example. Okay, it's a great opportunity. So your grades are not set in stone. There's plenty of room for improvement and flexibility. Okay. Now you have, of course, here there's a statement that you have until April 24th to withdraw from this course. So after that due date, if you fail to do so, you're going to receive whatever grade you got. Okay, so even if you didn't take any of the exams, it seems that you were absent all the time. You thought you have dropped the course just because you didn't appear or showed up or turn in anything. You are going to receive an F if you fail to withdraw from this course by the due date, which is April 24th. Now I mentioned there's one course assignment, the study questions report, which is due April 27th, is also 25% of the final grade. This is what you're going to need. This book that I mentioned. Why do you need this book? For the study questions report. I selected 10 documents from this book. They're short read, 2 or 3 pages each, more or less, give and take. You're supposed to read it, those documents, and answer questions on those documents. You say, okay, so where are the instructions, the guidelines, and the syllabus? It tells you the chapter number, the page number, and the title of the document, and the questions that you're supposed to answer. The way I'm asking students to proceed with this work, the format is to write the title of the document on top of the page. You write the title of the document and then proceed with a question and answer format. Write the question, type the answer below. Write the answer, type the answer below. The answers for each document, not for each question, but all of the answers per document must be 1 page in length. So for example, this document right here, Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca encounters Texas coastal Indians. Okay, that's the title. It has 3 questions. 4, let us just say. Okay, because at the end there's a why and why not. You have to type the question and then the answer, question and answer. And all of the answers for all those questions must be at least 1 page in length, double space. And then you move into the second document and you do the same thing. You write the title of the document on top and then proceed with the question and answer format for another page. So at the end of the work, you'll end up with a 10-page document. Save it on Word or PDF and upload it. Once again, right here, under Submit Work, you upload it here. Study Questions Report. April 27th. Okay, April 27 is the due date. I highly recommend that you buy the textbook as quickly as possible, because a lot of students in the past have procrastinated and left everything to the end, and by, let's say, beginning of April, they're trying to find it. The bookstore has run out of copies. They returned some of the copies they didn't sell. And now they're struggling to find this particular book. By the time, the book arrives, it's going to be, April 20. So what, you're going to have 7 days to do it? Maybe, again. So that's really, again, pushing it. You're trying to produce a work of high quality, so don't leave everything to the end. Make sure you get the 5th edition. It's very important, the 5th edition, because if you buy any other edition, you're not going to find the same documents, okay? Every edition changes documents. So again, it's very important that if you want to avoid problems and, delays and so on, just buy this book as quickly as possible and get the 5th edition, okay? Okay, my grading at the end is, again, very simple. Again, there's 4 main grades: first, second, final exam, and the study questions report, each 25% of the final grade. Of course, you can include the extra credit points earned from those assignments I mentioned. That can actually boost your grade significantly. And also, I want to tell you that at the end of the semester, I calculate grades on an individual basis. I go student by student. And there's another factor that comes into play here, and that is effort and progress. So if I see that you're progressing from the first exam to the second to the final, you were progressing from a 78 to an 86 to a 94, that is to say, you submitted 1 or 2 extra credit assignments and you ended up with an 88.75 grade average for some reason. Well, that progress for me tells a lot. It tells commitment, discipline, effort. So I curve your grade and give you an A. But I have to see effort. I have to see that you submitted extra credit assignments, that you were doing everything in your power to improve your grade and earn that A. Because if I see the reverse, you started out pretty well with a 94, but then the next exam was an 86, and then you ended up with a 78. And if I see that you're also borderline, like you got an 88.25 or 88.75, well, again, it seemed that you were just pretty much, regressing. Well, you might not get that benefit, the curve. So it's very important that your grades are not set in stone. There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of factors that can move your grade upward, like extra credit assignments and your progress and effort. Okay. Finally, there's some important calendar dates. The first date of class, of course, is January 17th. There's spring break holiday from March 13th to 17th. There's a whole week of holidays, a break. April 24th, that's the last day to drop a class or withdraw. Remember, I just mentioned that. And the final exams that week is between May the 8th and 12th. Okay. The last portion of the syllabus tells you the tentative course schedule and assignments, as I mentioned. It tells you week by week what are the topics that we're covering. So this is another guideline. Week by week, it tells you, look, it's to be watching the videos on the indigenous peoples of Texas, or the Spanish colonization, or the Mexican experience, and so on. And then when the exam is going to be submitted, February the 23rd. Okay, we go into the second part of the semester. Likewise, it tells you week by week the topics and then the due date for the second exam. Part 3, the same, tells you week by week what topics we're covering, when the study questions report is due, April 27th, and the final exam, which is May the 11th. okay, for this course. Okay, so this is, again, the structure and format of this course. Very quickly here on the left in this column, you're gonna find the major links, like the class introduction videos on top, the syllabus just beneath it. There's colleges, policies, and student support services. When you click on this link, college policies and support services, it takes you to the ACC webpage that provides, for example, all the information regarding health and safety protocols, for example, academic integrity, student rights and responsibilities, and so on. Again, privacy, safety, campus carry, discrimination, and so on. All of that, again, student support services, student accessibility services, academic support, library services, you name it. All of that, again, is provided in that link. The course content, as I mentioned, the instructional materials, you're going to find the videos on that folder, recorded video lectures, and beneath it, there's a folder titled Lecture Outlines and Questions. What you can find there? My outlines. So as I'm lecturing, I also show you outlines. The outlines for each topic will be shown to you on the screen. So if you want access to the outlines, those are not the notes, of course. This is just an outline. It's like bullet points, key ideas, maps, photographs, and so on. Everything that you're going to see on the screen is provided to you here in this folder. There are 9 folders, there's 9 topics, and each one of them contain the outlines, of course. Under course content, there's another link, course assignments. You can find all the assignments, the exams, the report, and the extra credits under course assignments. And where you're going to submit all of them? Under submit work. Here in this section, submit work, there's 5 links: first, second, final exam, study questions report, and extra credits. This is where you're going to submit all of this work. Once again, I will be sending you on a weekly basis 2 emails. It can be Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, doesn't matter, indicating which videos you're supposed to be watching. Days before the exam is due, I will remind you the exam is coming up. I will send you the instructions. It's due this day. Okay? You're supposed to upload it by the due date. Again, so I'm maintaining communication with you constantly on a weekly basis, sending you notifications for the videos and for the exams. When the study questions report is due, I will send you also a notification that is about to be due and the like. So I'm again available to you via emails for any questions, comments, concerns, regarding grading, regarding the lectures, the material, anything. Please, again, send me an email and I will respond to you as quickly as I can with guidance and insight. And this is how we're going to proceed from now on. Okay? I hope this video presentation was helpful to you. And once again, my name is Alfonso R. Lopez. I will be your instructor for this class this semester. And I will be sending you the very first announcement tomorrow, Wednesday, for the very first video that you have to watch for this week. Okay? That's all I have for you. And I'll see you then soon. Thank you.